Dinosaur Adventure Land in Lenox, Alabama. We're on a bunch of different channels now. TikTok folks, are they on there? Yep. Good morning, or evening, whatever it is. Good night. Okay, thank you for joining us. It's January 24th, 2024, Whack an Atheist, Wednesday. Tonight, Duke University has a professor named Dr. Noor, and we're going to have to whack-a-nate him. He doesn't get it. He believes in evolution. So let's see, right here. We believe God ought to get the glory for his creation. And we're on Rumble and Odyssey and a whole bunch of places. They're all listed on Dr.Dino.com. And so whatever your favorite channel is, if you ever take us off for one of them, if we lose it for some reason, go try another one, all right? We'll be up there somewhere. And let's see, we're at Genesis Baptist Church, an old-fashioned, independent, temperamental, fundamental, right-wing, radical, chicken-eating Baptist church. You even got the screen over there, brother? Look at that. Yes, sir. Man, that's awesome. You're good. Not quite worth a raise, but good. Okay, straight north of Pensacola, 70 miles. If you want to come visit us, we think God ought to get the glory instead of the stupid evolution religion. And it's nothing but a religion. I got a battle scar here. Hang on. Okay. Come visit our 140-acre campus. It's a blast around here. Is it beautiful today or what? 70 degrees in middle January. I like Lenox, Alabama. We think God ought to get the glory. I keep saying I got to take off this deal about the honeymoon spot for Jude and Katie. That was what, a month ago? Sorry. Well, happy honeymoon, but we still need some hay down here. They didn't have any hay this year. There was a bad year growing hay around here because of the drought. So if you're coming down to visit, bring some bales of hay. We like the square one so our cows can get a square meal if you can. Okay. Here we are, Duke University. I forgot to move that. There it is. Help us stay open for free. Join our 777 club if you would. And go to Dr.Dino.com if you want to help us there. Whack an Atheist Wednesday. Would like the whack-a-mole game. Tonight, Dr. Noor. Whack-a-mole game, the mole sticks his head up and you whack it back down. Our goal is to, when the evolutionist sticks their head up and says something stupid, we're going to whack them back down. Kids love it, adults love it, and it's a fun game. We wait for them to make silly claims and say, wait, stop. No, that's not true. You're not related to a potato and a banana and a mosquito. And like Mr. Nelson says, we're all apes. So he may be, but I am not. We're not all apes. Keep your head down. Some keep their head down after one whack. They quit teaching on it. Yay. Some need whacked over and over and over again. And I enjoy doing it. So the winner tonight, Dr. Noor, Duke University. Let's see, a private university in Durham, North Carolina. Duke is a research facility, research university. Well, good. Why don't you research the claims about evolution? Don't just believe them, research them, check them out. They're not true. Founded by Methodists and Quakers. Boy, have they come a long way from where they started. Man. Duke University, private university, 8,600 acres. Billy, how'd you like to mow all that? Yeah, okay. Let's see, 6,600 students, tuition $66,000. Is that per year? And it rates in the top 7 universities in America. And they teach this stupid evolution religion. Okay, Mr. Noor, take it away. I'm going to let you explain what you believe. What's the evidence and the principles of evolution? Here he goes, right here. He's even got a little statue of Darwin behind him on his desk.
Welcome back to Introduction to Genetics and Evolution. In the previous videos, we talked about basic evolutionary principles and how evolution by natural selection is a mathematical inevitability.
That is a ridiculous statement. It's not a mathematical inevitability. You're making all this up. This is dogma. This is not science. So you want to debate on that, Dr. Noor? Call 855-BIG-DINO, extension 4. Say, Joseph, I will defend my statement that evolution is an inevitable, mathematical, it had to happen. This is stupid, okay? That whole idea is stupid. Call Joseph. We'll debate you on that anytime. They make these statements, and students, of course, believe them. Wow, professor said it, you know. He's got the DR in front of his name. Okay.
We also talked about how, despite this, there was some variation in how well people accept the truth of evolution.
How well people accept it. Wait. Some variation in how well. You mean people like me don't accept it? Listen, Mr. Noor, Dr. Noor, you can only accept something that is true. You can believe anything you wish. But evolution is not something you accept. Evolution is something you believe. And I've done 342 debates now with these guys. They always try to slip that word in. You don't accept evolution like you're dumb and we're smart. No. You believe in evolution. It's not something you accept. I accept the fact that 2 + 2 is 4. You probably do too. But evolution is not something you accept. It's never been demonstrated. It's not science. But go ahead, keep on.
and allowed to be taught in various schools. So in this lecture, we'll talk a little bit more detail about some of those basic principles of evolution, and we'll go into some of the evidence for evolution and common descent of species, common ancestry
I would love to see this. Go for it.
of species. So first, evolution has two fundamental processes. Okay, so you can have change within a lineage.
Exactly what is a lineage? We'll talk about that in a minute. See, the Bible says 24 times in the first 7 chapters, they will bring forth after their kind. That we observe. I agree. Probably all the dogs in the world had a common ancestor called a dog, and all the cows had a common ancestor called a cow, and probably all the different mosquitoes had a common ancestor called a mosquito. It doesn't prove the mosquitoes and the cows are related. What happened? They're ready to go live?
No, we didn't have any sound on this.
Didn't have any sound?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry about that for you folks in TikTok land. We're still learning all this. Joseph, when do we get all the rest of something? We're waiting on something, aren't we? Studio for TikTok? Oh, we got to get all that up.
Yeah, we need a full studio to bring it in our studio. I need the stream piece.
We need some tech guys to come down here and help us for about a week to get everything done. This was a gravel pit with nothing here, 7.5. Yeah. Okay. So we're debating, listening to Dr. Noor, N-O-O-R, at Duke University, and he's explaining why he believes evolution is inevitable. You have to accept it. No, sir, you believe it. Anyway, evolution has two fundamental processes, changes within a lineage. This one I would agree with, but it should not be called evolution, okay?
So if you were to go far back in time, 60...
Wait a minute, Mr. Noor, Dr. Noor, we cannot go back in time. Your whole theory is about to be based on the dumb idea that the layers of the earth are different ages. They're not. All the layers of the earth are the same age. There's no such thing as a geologic column. But your whole religion is founded on this stupid idea that the top layer is younger. Maybe somebody at Duke University, the research university, can do some research and explain to me how the top layer is younger. Where did it come from? Outer space? All those here of Noah's flood, with the tide going up and down 200 feet, if it's uninterrupted, it's a harmonic tide, 200 foot up and down, the water rushing in and out, it's going to make all those layers in 1 year, all around the world, not millions of years. They're all the same age. So you don't go back in time. This whole premise is crazy. But let's let him keep talking. Okay, go ahead.
60 million years ago, ancestors of the modern horse stood only about half a meter tall. Over the course of time, over the last 60 million years, you've had the evolution of the modern horse, which today stands almost 2 meters tall.
Can you imagine being a student in this class having to memorize that for a test? You can't go back in time, first of all, and the layers are not different ages. They found different fossils that somebody has decided are small horses and big horses. I would agree. Maybe that 4-toed horse is not a horse at all. Maybe it's a different animal that went extinct. I mean, in a court of law, in an honest court of law, all this would be thrown out as real stupid.
So we have this change within a lineage. These pictures, by the way, don't necessarily depict actual horse ancestors, but they show fossils that were present at the same time as the presumed horse.
See, all that present at the same time, that's all based on the assumption that these layers are different ages. Can you see how they do this over and over and over? And the students believe it.
Ancestry. Okay. The other fundamental process within evolution is the formation of new lineages, or this idea of common ancestry of species. So if you were to go back, many millions of years ago,
you cannot go back millions of years ago. There aren't millions of years to go back to, okay? The world's not millions of years old. That's easily demonstrated scientifically. Watch my video number 1, The Age of the Earth and Creation Seminar Series, Part 1, probably 25 or 30 different ways to prove the Earth is not billions of years old. Or watch my seminars every Friday night. We're redoing that section, adding a lot more to it on the age of the Earth. It cannot be billions of years old. I'm sorry. But anyway, you cannot go back in time. I'm going to let that slip for now. I put that down as a point to bring up later in my objections. Go ahead.
Horses, donkeys, and zebras all share a single common ancestor species.
Now, I would probably agree with that. I think horses, zebras, and donkeys are the same kind of animal. They're four-wheel drive, leather upholstery, nose on the front, tail on the back. I mean, they biodegradable exhaust. They probably have a common ancestor. And I bet it looked like a horse. It doesn't mean they're related to mosquitoes and potatoes.
But then they had this split of this single species into what became 3 new species. One of them.
I think the original horse kind had a genetic code that was incredible, able to produce a variety of offspring. I bet two parents could get kids the same way and produce kids that are different. How many have ever seen a family where the same mom, same dad had more than one kid and the kids were different? You ever notice that? What happened here? Of course, there's built-in genetic variability in the gene code. The horse and the zebra probably had a common ancestor. I would agree.
One evolved into the modern horse, one evolved into the modern zebra, one evolved into the modern donkey. So from taking these two processes, there are two fundamental principles of evolution that I'd like to emphasize. The first is that much of evolutionary change, much of what's happening within a single lineage is caused by natural selection.
I would agree. Nature would select certain animals to survive. If you turned all the dogs in the world loose in Alaska, the ones with the thick fur would survive better than the ones with thin fur. The bigger body, denser body ones could hold the heat better. They would survive better. Nature would select a certain body type to survive in the Alaskan environment. I agree. If you turned all those same dogs loose in the desert, now those ones with the thick fur are not going to survive because they get hot and they die from overheating. So now the ones with the small fur, maybe like the dingo or something, that would survive, long skinny legs, get rid of the heat better. So I think nature can certainly select, but Dr. Knorr, you don't get it. You think this ability to select a certain body type is evolution. It has to already be in the gene code. See, if you turned all the dogs in a world loose in Alaska, none of them have a built-in electric heater. None of them. Or a propane heater, or natural gas heater, or wood stove heater. None of them have that. So it can only select what's already available. It can't create anything. But you guys want to give natural selection, which is true, creative ability, which is stupid. Nature can't create anything. It selects. That's all it does. Go ahead, continue here. So I agree. Natural selection works, but it only selects and has nothing to do with evolution. Nothing.
It's this natural selection that produces the appearance of design that I talked.
The appearance of design. It looks like it was designed, but we know it wasn't. Yeah. It looks like this pencil was designed, but we know, hey, it's made of natural materials, graphite, wood. Gee whiz, wood's all over the place. That's a natural material. Nobody made this.
About the previous video as being something that sometimes causes confusion for people and misunderstanding.
Confusion and misunderstanding? You mean they don't agree and accept your evolution religion? Is that what you mean by confusion and misunderstanding? It's on your part, sir. You have the confusion and misunderstanding. You can see design staring you in the face and deny it. You got educated way beyond your intelligence to make you believe something that dumb.
The other thing is that all species, not just a subset, all species share common ancestors.
That is called propaganda. That's called dogma. That's making a statement that has no scientific evidence. Nobody's ever seen a mosquito produce a non-mosquito. But you believe, by your statement there, you believe the mosquitoes and the whales and the zebras have a common ancestor, don't you, sir? If I asked you that simple question in a debate, and I'll try to remember if you call to schedule one, do you believe the mosquito, the whale, and the zebra have a common ancestor? You would have to say yes to stay true to your religion. Because you do believe that. I bet you believe you're related to a mosquito, don't you? That's not science. You can make that claim. That's not science. It's dogma. It's propaganda. Okay? How can you not see that? How many atheists have I debated where I've said something like that and they don't get it? They don't see how we don't see it. You don't believe you're related to a mosquito, Hovind? No.
That not only do horses and donkeys have a common ancestor, but horses, donkeys, and pigs have a common ancestor. Horses, donkeys, pigs, and mice have a common.
Well, it's got to be true. Look at that. You drew lines on the paper. Man, if you can draw lines between them, that's proof, isn't it? That's your proof. A line on paper with a dot. There you go. Okay, students, go home. You're done now. You learned it all. This is called dumb, real dumb. Draw a line on paper between a mouse and a whale? You think a whale and a pig and a mouse have a common ancestor? That's dumb, real dumb. I'll debate the whole staff at Duke University, all of you. I get half the time. You go first. Give me the best evidence. One topic at a time. I'll take you all on. Sometimes I feel like David challenging Goliath. I'm sick and tired of these guys taking over our school system and teaching this dumb stuff like a mouse and a whale are related. Yeah, but they both have hair.
Common ancestor. We share a common ancestor with them.
There you go. He does admit it. You believe you're related to a mouse, don't you? And a whale and a pig. I saw one at Walmart the other day. I'd go along with the pig part, but not the whale and the mouse.
Flies share a common ancestor with us. Coral shares a common ancestor with us.
Look at the smile. We're related to coral, boys and girls. Yeah. Why don't you go see if you can live underwater? Try it for about 30 minutes.
Sunflowers share a common ancestor with us, and even the amoeba shares a common ancestor with us.
There you go. That's proof. He said it. Go home. We know it's true. I'm sorry. I was wrong all these years, man. Evolution is true. After all, a professor with a DR said it. Got to be true. This is propaganda. This isn't science. I used to get some real science knowledge and knock some sense into you guys. Quit lying to the students. That's not science.
There is a presumed single origin of life that then produces.
You're right. It's a presumed single organ or origin of life. It's not science. Science is what we can observe, study, test, and demonstrate, Dr. Knorr. Has anybody ever seen an amoeba produce a non-amoeba? Or a whale produce a non-whale? Or a mosquito produce a non-mosquito? Or a coral produce a non-coral? There's hundreds of varieties within each of those kinds, but it's always the same kind, isn't it? 4,000 varieties of potatoes now. Might have had a common ancestor called a potato. That doesn't prove they're related to a mosquito. How can you guys not get it?
All the diversity we see on the planet today. We'll talk about that a little bit more extensively.
All the diversity on the planet today had a common ancestor. This is the stuff they teach at a research university. I'll tell you what, why don't you get your research scientists to research that? Show me why on earth you would believe something so dumb that you're related to a mosquito and a coral. Why would you believe that? Do you ever stop and think about what you think about?
In a later video. But let's go from this into some predictions that come from this idea that most evolutionary change comes from natural selection and from the presumed common ancestor of species. Some of these we've already touched on in previous points. First, if life originated on Earth a single time in the distant past, then what we should say is when we go way back in the fossil record.
You got a bunch of assumptions there. You don't go back in the fossil record. You can't go way back, and there is no fossil record. There's a bunch of fossils. They all formed during Noah's flood. And they're sorted a little bit based upon body density, mobility, habitat, intelligence. There's common sense reasons for their sorting, not evolution. Finding one in this layer does not mean it evolved into the one in the layer above it. That's dumb, real dumb. So if life originated, there you start off with, your premise is no good. Life can't originate. Show me where the science is for life starting from non-living material. That's not science, that's propaganda again. How can you guys just start? If I said, well, let's assume elephants can fly. Now what would happen? Stop right there. They can't fly. The rest of the story is no good, okay? Your story is no good with your first word, if. It's not science. It's a fairy tale. You're telling a story. This is propaganda. All you folks at Duke that are paying $66,000 a year to be taught this stuff ought to get your money back. This is dumb.
The earliest detectable forms of life should be very primitive.
Okay, Dr. Knorr, there is no such thing as a primitive life form. No such thing. One amoeba, paramecium, bacteria, single-celled creature, pick any one you want. Any one of them is more complex than the internet network in the world. It's more complex than all the computers man's ever designed, combined. One single-celled creature, the DNA code, is more complex than the space shuttle. There's no such thing as a simple, single-celled organism. Would you guys stop lying to your students about that? The DNA code from one human being, they've calculated, you have 100 trillion cells in your body. Each one contains 46 chromosomes, except for the gametes. If you unwound them, each chromosome would be 6 feet long. That's the code. And you got 46 of those in each cell. You add them all together, you get enough DNA from one person to go across the solar system twice. There's no such thing as a simple life form. Stop lying to your students about that. There's no such thing.
Very, very simple. And only later should you see some modern.
There are no such things that are very, very simple, that are alive. Quit making up this stuff. This is fairy tale stuff. This isn't a university. Certainly isn't a research university. You're not research. You just were taught that, and you passed it right on to your students.
Now, it's possible that later you'll also see some simple forms, but the early
There are no simple forms, Dr. Noor. Show me one. Show me a simple life form. All you atheists in the comment section, what's the simple life form? Show me one.
earliest forms should certainly be simple. There's a famous quote from biologist J.B.S. Haldane that what observation would refute the truth of evolution and common ancestry.
How about the observation that there's no simple life forms? The very single-cell creature is more complex than the space shuttle. There's an observation that ought to make you stop and think. See, a book is more than just ink on paper. A book represents the ink has been designed in the shape of certain letters that have some meaning, and it's a language, whatever language you want to use. And then somebody with some level of intelligence arranged those letters into words, and those words into sentences, and those sentences into paragraphs. A book is not just ink on paper. And your DNA code is not just CATG, not just molecules and not just atoms. It's arranged in a code that's phenomenal. It's not simple. There's no such thing.
Ancestry. And he argued that what would do it would be finding fossil rabbits in the Precambrian era.
So if I find a fossil rabbit in the Precambrian era, that would falsify your theory. Dr. Noor, there is no Precambrian era. There is no Cambrian era. There is no geologic column. Finding a fossil rabbit anywhere would prove it died, and probably died and was buried quickly, like maybe Noah's flood would do. Finding any fossil would be a pretty good indicator for a creation and the flood of Noah. But the Bible says in 2 Peter 3, in the last days, the scoffers would be willingly ignorant of the creation and the flood and the coming judgment of God. You might be ignorant of that too. Finding any fossil of anything in any layer proves it died and was buried quickly. Noah's flood made nearly all the fossils. Finding a rabbit. Okay.
This is very, very long time ago, finding fossil rabbits. That would refute this idea of common ancestry. Well,
lots of other things refute the idea of common ancestry, like it doesn't happen. You have to make up, you draw lines on paper, your family tree, that's supposed to be evidence. Everything refutes your theory of common ancestry. Every farmer in the world has ever observed, ever, in the history of the world, ask them, go back, check the history books. Cows always have baby cows. Farmers have selectively bred them to now they have 450 different kinds of cows. Whoa. And they probably had a common ancestor called a cow. That's all anybody's ever seen. Ask anybody that raises dogs and sells them. My wife has a couple sisters and children that they do that for a living, raise weird varieties and sell them, okay? My wife paid money for that pug. Can you believe that? Honey, I'm sorry, that was not a good decision. But I got to feed the dumb thing. But when it dies, I'm going to put the skull in our museum and put a sign by it saying, can somebody please tell me what this is? Nobody's going to guess it's a dog, are they? From the shape of that skull. Nobody. By the way, if any of you have a dog that dies, want to donate their skull, we'd like it for our museum, okay? So, you guys, this evolution doesn't happen. It's imagination. It's fairy tale world, okay?
that's never been found. So there has not been an observation to refute the truth of evolution.
There's not been an observation to believe the religion of evolution. You say there's not been an observation to refute it. Whoa, you're working on the wrong end of the problem here. Nobody's ever seen anything to document it. Nobody's ever seen a single-celled creature turn into a whale or a person or or anything else. This is imagination. We don't have to refute it. You're saying it's science. It's your job to demonstrate it. Science, what we can know, observe, test, demonstrate. Show me at your research university. Show me how any animal or plant changes into something else. Not a story how it could happen. Let's see it happen. Lots of animals have a short generation time. There are bacteria that are born, grow up, get married, have babies in 8 hours. That's a short generation time. Humans, it's more like 20 years. Bacteria, 8 hours. What? Show me those change into something else. Okay, well, make a hamster out of a bacteria. Go ahead. At your research university. I bet you get a government grant for that easily. Do it. Go for it.
Evolutionary common ancestry. Well, in fact, when you look at the fossil record,
there is no fossil record. Stop saying that.
The early life really is extraordinarily simple.
You are mistaken, sir. You're ignorant of your biology if you believe that. There is no such thing as a simple life form. No such thing. And it would be obvious that if you shake the earth, the dust up, mud up during the Noah's flood, the smaller things would settle down deeper than the bigger things. It's called hydrologic sorting. Happens all the time. When you flip this thing over, which has water in it, it's going to automatically sort the particles in there based upon their density. Yeah, happens all the time. Take a course in physics and see how things are sorted based upon density. Watch the video Experiments in Stratification. You can see it happen. The smaller single-celled creatures may be found at the bottom because that's normal sorting from Noah's flood. Normal.
See things which are either single-celled or very, very small and with very simple structures very early in the fossil record. And
there is no fossil record. Fossil evidence. The fact that there's fossils at all is evidence of a flood. How did they not get it, brother?
And as you go later in there, you start to see the earliest.
You don't go later in the fossil. We done? Still working? Hi, TikToker. That was Joseph. They got to see you, brother. I thought you didn't want to go on screen.
It looks dark on their phone, like you couldn't even see anything.
It just went dark.
It just went dark. I'm still here. I don't understand how it all works, brother. Push a button. PhD, okay? All right. There's no such thing as a fossil record. You don't go back in time. All of this is imagination. How can you not see that, okay?
Simple shelled animals. And much later, you start seeing things like plants or vertebrates, and only very recently do you see humans. So
much later. All based on the assumption that the layers are earlier to later. And there's the problem. It doesn't happen. And you poor students that have to learn this, what you ought to do if the teacher asks this on a test for a quiz question or test question, you can say, the textbook says, blah, 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 spit out the answer they want, and then say, however, I think this is stupid. Dr. Hovind said so, and he'll debate you on that. All of you students tell that to your teachers that are teaching this dumb geologic column. There is no geologic column. There is no fossil record. Stop saying that. We finally evolved into humans. And he says it's been confirmed. Wow, look, he drew it on paper again. There's the lines, must be true. And even color-coded. Well, that makes it doubly true. Look at that purple on the bottom. See, well, that's got to be true. Okay.
But in general, yes, the earliest life we see evidence for is extraordinarily simple. We don't see these ancient vertebrates that are arising long before simple gastropods or other shelled animals.
Well, now hold it. There are some extremely complex creatures like the Trilobite found in these very, very low layers. And the Trilobite has probably the most complex eye ever in the world. Some of them have 15,000 lenses? Trilobite eye, 15,000? That's a complicated eye. Each one wired to the brain, and the brain deciphers all those pictures and makes decisions based on it, which way to go to get away from the enemy or to go find food. That's a Trilobite, way down in the bottom layer. The whole geologic column, one of the biggest lies ever in world history. Made up in 1830, by the way, and there's no such thing.
So that's one prediction fulfilled.
It is not fulfilled. You're dreaming. It's dumb, real dumb.
Here's another one. If evolution occurred within lineages, and those lineages sometimes split, we should be able to find cases of species gradually changing the fossil record.
You're stuck with that dumb fossil record, aren't you? There is no fossil record. All you know when you find a fossil is it died. You couldn't prove it had any kids. You sure couldn't prove it had kids that lived. And you really, really couldn't prove it had kids that lived that were different. Why don't any animals today do this? Why don't any horses today produce something other than a horse? You got a line on paper between the mouse and the whale. Show me a mouse produce something other than a mouse. They produce babies pretty quick, you know. Show me this. This isn't science. What you're teaching here is propaganda for a stupid religion. I will come to Durham, North Carolina and debate you and all your buddies at the same time at my expense. You provide an auditorium, I'll come there, I'll take you all on same time. You go first. What's the single best, one at a time, what's the best evidence for evolution? And then give me time to respond. And then you can go to your next best one. No interrupting, no cursing and swearing, equal time for both sides. Challenge all of you, Duke University students, tell your professors, bring Hovind in here. We want to show you guys how dumb he is and how smart our professors are. Go ahead, bring them on, please.
From one form into another form. And in fact, I've actually already shown you the answer to this in the case of horse evolution. When we look at ancient horse...
You've not shown us the answer. You drew a bunch of pictures on a piece of paper and claimed that one turned into another. You don't know any such thing. You can't possibly know these things. Brother, we've only gone about 7 minutes into this. I'm wired up tonight. These guys fire me up. Tell you what, let's quit right there. Take some questions from the audience. You can see, though, everything they're doing is based on evolution is true because of the fossil record, and there's no such thing, and because these layers are different ages, and that's dumb. All the layers form in minutes. All the layers of the earth formed in probably 7 months of Noah's flood when the tide going up and down uninterrupted. The Bible says in the 7th month, the ark rested. So the earth started to shift into position where the tides were no longer able to circle the globe. Today, the tide going up and down bangs into stuff. Tide comes up about 5 feet in Florida and bangs into Florida. Before the flood came, that wouldn't happen. Or during the flood, I mean, the world's covered in water. If the water was evenly distributed, there'd be 8,800 feet of water everywhere, 1.5 miles everywhere. Then the tide could become harmonic and go up and down 200 feet uninterrupted. If the tide's coming up 200 feet, where's all the water coming from to fill that bump? All 4 sides. Earth is spinning, and it's round and it spins. Flat earthers, shut up, okay? The earth is round and it spins. It holds that bump. The moon holds that bump like that. So the water's constantly rushing in from the east at the same speed the earth is turning the other way, which means that the North Pole is turning 0 miles an hour, but at the equator, 1,038.6. If the water's going sideways at 1,000 miles an hour for a couple hours, it's going to cause all kinds of layers to form. Whoa. Depending upon the topography at the bottom of the ocean, watch the video, Experiments in Stratification. It's been out for like 30 years, 40 years. The guy did it at Colorado State University. So I'm sorry, there is no geologic column. All the layers formed in 1 year in Noah's flood, and all those layers are the same age. Get my video where I talk about the polystrata fossils. Thousands of trees standing up, petrified, running through all the layers. Okay, what's the questions here, brother? You got them on screen? Can't you admit evolution by natural selection occurred rapidly post-flood and still occurs? So it was a mathematical inevitability. There's no connection between those two statements, crybaby, okay? I agree. After the flood, animals tended to settle in where they felt more comfortable. Those with thicker fur that like the colder weather, they tend to move to where the cold weather was and live there. Those that don't have all the thick fur, they probably don't like the cold weather. And they probably ended up going down to, warmer places. This is not evolution. This variation. And man has created most of the varieties of dogs, and most of man's created varieties wouldn't survive 10 minutes in the woods. How long would my wife's dog, that pug, survive out there? Not long. The mosquitoes would eat it, okay? It's dumb, real dumb. So let's say there's 339 recognized breeds of dogs, like the American Kennel Association says. Turn them all loose in the woods. How long would the Chihuahuas last? I saw an eagle fly by today, just looking for a Chihuahua. That'd be a snack for that eagle, wouldn't it? Yeah. We had a hawk come by. I'm giving the tour the day. Hawk went flying right by the Jeep. Whoa, cool. The hawk could eat the Chihuahuas. Most of the man-created varieties wouldn't survive. Even some of the big dogs, the Mastiff. It's too slow. Wouldn't survive. I bet if you turned them all loose and then went back and see it, 20 years later, probably only be 4 or 5 varieties of dogs out there. Wolf, coyote, fox. Yeah. So no, I'm sorry. Evolution by natural selection did not occur at all. Nature selected, it's not evolution. Nature selected some to survive based on all kinds of things. How fast do they have to run to get their food? What kind of food's available? What's the temperature? Those things nature would select. But it's not creating anything. Okay. Body parts from pigs are transplanted to humans, never from apes. I don't know that that's true. Is that true? I haven't heard that. I don't think I want a body part from a pig. I ate bacon this morning, though. Is that transplanting? That's transplanting some of his body into me. I liked it. It was good. Thank you, Billy. That was good. Don't need Dr. Hovind to be president. He needs to head up the education department. Might get truth back into schools and throw out the devil. Matthew, I got a more important job than that, being an evangelist, but okay. We need somebody in the education department that says, look, we're only going to teach science in science class. Only science, no religion. That takes out evolution. And we're not going to use lies to support anybody's religion. We're not going to tell them the embryo has gill slits inside the mother. That was proven wrong in 1875. We're not going to teach that anymore. But that's one of our evidences. And we're not going to teach them there's vestigial structures. There's no such thing. You take the lies out of the textbooks, video number 4 on my series, lies in the textbook. You remove that, and the whole evolution theory collapses. The only thing they have to support their theory is stuff been proven wrong a long time ago. Get the whole series for $50. Watch video number 4. Okay. Next one, brother. I got a bunch of questions here too. I'm not going to invite anybody to go live on the show here, but let's see. Keep making it. All right, I'm trying. Let's see. Blocked? Moderator blocked? Somebody?
Oh, I just blocked somebody.
Huh?
I just blocked somebody.
You block? Yeah, if anybody that curses, block them. Anybody that tries to monopolize the channel, take over, block them, okay? Get your own channel. Okay, let's see. Any more there, brother?
Yeah, here's a guy that has an issue with geological. Shows you that it's real. Here you go.
There is a fossil record. Men have recorded what, when, and where they find fossils. Okay, I agree. They've recorded what they found. They've recorded where they found it, and maybe when they found it. But they don't know that it was a different age because it's in a different layer. That's the problem. I could say, I found this clam at such and such a place in Tennessee, and it was found on January 12th or whatever, okay? That doesn't mean this is part of a fossil record proving the clam turned into a whale or a human. This petrified closed clam is a pretty good indication it was buried alive, because otherwise clams open when they die. So I agree there are fossils. I agree men have kept records about it, but that's not what they mean when they say fossil record, is it? They mean that the layers form a record, and the top ones are the most recent and the most complex, and the lower ones are the simplest and the oldest. That's not true. That's baloney. Once they have recorded the data, a fossil record has been made. Well, if that's what you mean by fossil record, they've written down a record of where they found it true. But you know that's not, full well, that's not what they mean in the textbooks, don't you? Okay, let's see. How did the Nephilim survive the flood? Wasn't that the purpose of the flood? Brother, I don't have an answer for the Nephilim. The Bible says there were giants in the earth in those days. That was before the flood, we know that. And there have been some giant human skeletons found, probably from the flood. And they seem to disappear at the Smithsonian. Hovind for president. I am too busy. I don't have time to be president. Okay. Go forth and preach the gospel. Amen. I'm trying. Love your stuff, brother. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. A bunch of messages coming in. Hovind for president. 29, 24. I'm not going to live that long. I don't think I'm going to live that long, brother, am I? Okay. Thank you for joining us, folks. Kent Hovind here, Dinosaur Adventure Land, Lenox, Alabama. Come visit. Bring your family down. Stay in one of our cabins. It's free. What do you want? Should we pay them to come? I can barely pay to keep alive, so no, we're not going to pay you to come. But well, come on down, pay us a visit here. If you have any questions, you can call 855 BIG-DINO, extension 3. That's me. If I got time, I'll answer. If I don't, I won't. He said, I tried to call. You didn't answer. That's correct. I'm busy doing other things. I hadn't been sitting around waiting all day for your call, you know. Yeah, there's other things going on around here. Lots going on around here. Okay, thank you for joining us. Tell others about our channel. If they shut down one, go to a different one. We're going to be on 20 channels. So they're all listed on drdino.com, DRDINO. And is the other one Kent Hovind, Dr. Kent, the Science Gent? Is that one?
Yeah, we're live on there.
We're live on that one right now. First video, Dr. Kent, the Science Gent on YouTube. We'll go back and put a bunch of other videos up on there also. If you want to watch those, I like that. Somebody's, I forget. Well, Bill Nye, the science guy, he claims he's a science guy. He thinks he's related to a mosquito. Yeah, that's not science. Okay. And we got Professor Dave, thinks he's a professor. He teaches where it came from a rock. Yeah, that's not science, Dave. Okay. I'll debate anybody anytime on that. I'm just sick and tired of it. They say, you don't have an accredited degree. Well, then I should be easy picking, shouldn't I? I'll be easy picking. Bring it on. Okay, see you tomorrow. Comments on comments. I got one guy been commenting today on the phone back and forth with me. We're going to upset a lot of people tomorrow. Do not watch tomorrow night. Okay. Okay. See you.